Greetings, world. This is the open discussion meeting, which is now convened as of June 9th, 2026, at approximately 7:19 p.m. Eastern Time. I thank those who are intended for attending today. Um, Today's open discussion will be over Resolution 1514. I will preface this by saying that um, we encourage everyone to not only share these recordings, these links with your fellow friends and family members, um, but we also encourage you all to know the truth of the matter of the Empire of Morocco, in which the de jure Sultan is Sultan Abdul Smith Al-Kabir, not to be confused with any other individual that is maybe claiming to be Sultan, um, any ANPAC 2.0 officials or any of that, anything of that nature. So I would like to uh, focus here on Resolution 1514. It's important that the Moors understand, um, being that uh, it's important to start from the ground up, especially being that the empire is under a new direction now. Um, we have to control the narrative in a more righteous manner, right? We have to correct ourselves where we know the areas have to be corrected, right? And that's what we did. So this resolution 1514, just to give some context to this before we start this reading, it's a very important document. It came out during the 1960s. Okay, so keep in mind these dates. We're not just with this document, but whenever you read any document, the dates. What was going on during that time? What taught was going on during these times? What was going on during that time on the other side of the world uh, that we weren't told about? All these things come into play many times. Um, During the 1960s, you had the racial wars, quote unquote, right, being heavily advertised throughout uh, the United States of America, right? Um, so I'll, I'll I won't get into it too much right now, but just ponder on that the world at that time in which this document came about. Okay. Vice, if you can start us off with this reading here at 1514 here on this right hand side.
It's not showing up on my screen, Prime.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Let me stop the share. Share again here.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Do you
15
need
4.
me to zoom in?
I can see it pretty good. I can see it all right.
Okay.
1514. Declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and people. The General Assembly, mindful of the determination proclaimed by the people of the world in the Charter of the United Nations to reaffirm faith and fundamental human rights in the dignity and worth of the human person, and the equal rights of men and women and of nations large and small, and to promote social progress and better standards of life and larger freedom. Conscious of the need for the creation of conditions of stability and well-being and peaceful and friendly relations for based on respect for the principles of equal rights and self-determination of all peoples, and the universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedom for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or regions. Recognizing the passionate yearning for freedom in all dependent peoples and the decisive role of such peoples in the attainment of their independence, aware of the increasing conflict resulting from the denial of or impediments in the way of the freedom of such people, which constitute a serious threat to world peace, considering the important role of the United Nations in assisting the movement for independence and trust and non-self-governing territories, recognizing that the people of the world ardently desire the end of colonialism in all its manifestations.
Point of interest.
Yes.
Okay, so just to kind of back it up here and slowly get some break this stuff down, right? Um, so we have a document here, that's a declaration, right? Granting independence to all to colonial countries and peoples. Okay, so this is a document directly associated with human rights, right? We're not talking about the political aspect of things, right? And where we get down to a more narrow nature. We're talking about, hey, if you're breathing, two legs, two arms, and considered a human, you have these basic rights regardless of what state you're a part of and your political affiliation. So the uh, the core point is human rights here, not a political aspect, right? As it relates to your nationality, particularly, they're not talking about, hey, your human rights are based on your nationality. Like, nah, it's not that. We're talking about humans, period, right? Okay, so now that we know that, um, what did we what did the vice just read? Well, if we read down here, it doesn't let me highlight, but in the last s- section he just read, it says recognizing that the peoples of the world ardently desire the end of colonialism in all its manifestations. So this in all manifestations. Somebody got to put themselves on mute. So it's talking about in all forms of manifestation, which is all all forms. So in this document, there it's not given the option to 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 exercise neo-colonialism. It's saying all forms of colonialism shall end, right? So this is a document in which, again, when you look at the jurisprudence, right, what was going on during this time? How many votes did this document get? Um, what was the buildup? What was the reasons this document was created? Right? Remember, I said you got to look at everything that was going on during this time. So we got to keep in mind that there were several states that didn't uh, vote for this document, specifically abstinations. So when you abstain, you don't vote per se. Who I just cut to the chase. The United States was one of those states that did not agree with this document being put or passed. So many colonizers did not agree. Once you look at the list of states who did not agree, or did not vote yay, right? Uh, However, they were outnumbered greatly. I think 89 votes. Uh, they all wanted to pass this. So these are things, plus you have the civil, you got the uh, civil rights, right, within the civil rights movement, in which that's what it got turned into. That's what it got construed, socially engineered to be, focused on civil rights. See, our people knew something was up. However, the term that was in front of our face, civil rights, we thought that that was the path. It's like a, a store, a shoe store that only presents you two shoes, a certain type of shoe, knowing that there's five, let's just say, and they just for whatever reason only decide to show you two. And those two shoes are not as good looking and maybe not as cheap for whatever reason, but they're going to show you those other two pair of shoes. See, what was put in front of our face, we only knew we only knew what to go off of, basically what's put in front of our face. There's no law in any state that gives specific instructions on how to decolonize, especially come from the colonizer, right? So get back to point here. Um, I wanted to shine light here where it says in all its it says end of colonialism in all its manifestations. Okay, keeping in mind that everything I just stated about um, you know, the reality of certain colonial states not wanting this passed, the reality of the 1960s being um, uh, pushed intentionally to be focused on civil rights opposed to decolonization and independence and statehood. Excuse me. So, uh, Vice, if you can continue this reading here, I'm gonna scroll down for you right quick.
Okay. Convinced that the continued existence of colonialism prevents the development of international economic cooperation, impedes the social, cultural, and economic development of dependent peoples, and militates against the United Nations idea of universal peace, affirming that people may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperations based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law, believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible, and that in order to avoid serious crisis, an end must be put to colonialism and all practice of segregations and discriminations associated therewith. I want to read that again. Believing that the process of liberations is irresistible and irreversible, and that in order to avoid serious crisis, an end must be put to colonialism and all practice of segregation and discriminations associated therewith, welcoming the emergence.
Pause for a second.
Yeah,
Islam. Peace and love, everybody.
peace
Sorry I'm
and
late again today. Thank you, Prime, for getting
Um,
the class started. Why did you read that a second time, good brother?
because this part right here where it says uh must be an end must be put to colonialism and all practice. I just started from the whole beginning, but yeah, an end must be put to colonialism and all practices of segregation and discrimination associated therewith. So that's the part I want to really emphasize, that part right there. I just read the whole thing.
I get that. My question is, why did you feel the need to emphasize that part?
Well, actually, to me, it was more personal to me. It felt, I just wanted to read it again. That's all.
Okay, I thought something hit you.
Yeah.
Uh, does it hit? What does anyone else hear or see when they read that, especially that last part? The part talking about segregation and discrimination. Does it ring a bell? Does it
Uh,
y'all was that?
this LWL unpack, point at AG. I don't know how I sound. The windows in the car and the windows kind of. I don't know. I'm trying to get them closed. But what I heard is like a no turning back factor. Like that's the process. Gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta keep going. Because
Right.
any hindrance or any could lead to a crisis mental to the people. Yeah.
Kind of breaking up. I think I got a gist of what you were saying.
Right.
Um, what year? Let me help y'all out. What year did this resolution come out?
1960.
Okay, so it came out in 1960, right? All right. So then, now that you know what year it came out, how does the term segregation and discrimination, how does that hit you?
Islam. I get that segregation is colonialism. That's what I get from it.
Well, it's one of the manifestations. I'm surprised that this is not registering. Do you guys remember water fountains for whites only?
Yeah, we couldn't use the water fountains for whites.
Okay, so what is that?
That's a,
Segregation.
yeah,
Okay, so I thought it would hit you guys from the perspective of we've been through that as a people.
right.
Exactly during the time that Resolution 1514 was drafted. As it
Right.
was being drafted, Black people in America were suffering and dealing with segregation and discrimination. Yes or no?
Yes, we
Right.
were.
That's
Yes.
that's what I
Right.
was hoping that you guys would have caught on to.
Yeah.
Mm.
So where does the inspiration come from to write this resolution then, huh?
Mm.
What do y'all I mean, I don't know if
Excuse me.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, point of interest. Desegregation.
Well, what I'm saying is I don't know
So
of any other country or jurisdiction where there's black people, naturalized black people and what have you, if they've ever dealt with segregation and discrimination. Were the Africans that decolonized, I don't know, let's say Ghana, were they dealing with segregation and discrimination? Probably discrimination, but
Mm.
segregation is the key word.
Yeah, segregation.
I know
I
South
don't know.
Africa. South
Okay.
Africa was dealing with segregation and discrimination
Okay.
through the apartheid system.
Right. Okay. Right. So then that means that um, all colonized people had to deal with those manifestations, segregation and discrimination. But like the prime was saying earlier, um, we were we were offered only one option, which was civil rights,
Mm.
which led to uh, what status, Sister Valerie? We spoke on it yesterday. The civil rights led to what status for the black nation?
Oh, wow. You caught me off guard on that one. What status for us to become
Okay.
unified? For us to become
Remember,
unified, because right now, when you're talking about segregation, we're separate, but we're not equal.
no. Hold on. Back
Yeah.
up. Back up.
Okay.
So, what are the three statuses according to Resolution
Oh,
1541?
okay. Are you talking about like independent,
What's the other two?
um,
Free association.
free association and the third one?
That one
And
should stand out the most to everyone because we
yeah,
dealt with it and we know it. It's called integration.
integration.
That one should stand out to everyone. Like that should be the easiest one for us to remember is integration.
Be great.
So the civil rights, like what the prime was saying, right? We were only given one choice, and that was integration. But there were two other choices: free association and emergence of a sovereign and independent state. But then the question is, who presented us with that singular option?
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Wow.
Martin Luther King. And what was his sentiment after it all passed?
He may
We
be
shall
afraid that he
set
led
up
his
We
people
are
into
to
a
a
burning house.
Yes,
burning
sir.
house.
Burning building.
burn the building. No, we
It
are
wasn't
prisoners
right.
in our own land. Where
Yeah.
we
Well, he
don't.
said that in his speech, but he
Yeah.
still regretted integration by saying, "I've integrated my people into a burning house."
Right.
Oh,
So
Long.
again, so Miss Valerie, which status is off the table for the Moors out of those three?
Which is off the table.
Which one
In,
is off the table? We don't want to deal with it because we already dealt with it.
We
into
don't want to be
into
segregated. We don't want to be
into.
Integration,
integrated. We don't want integration.
right? So integration is off the table.
Uh,
That leaves two statuses. Which ones are they?
free,
Anyone?
asso- free
oh,
association and sovereignty and independence.
sovereignty and
Okay,
independence.
right. But then can you enter into diplomatic relations and treaty relations with other nations under a free association status?
No, you cannot.
No, you cannot.
Nope.
So then that's off the table, isn't it?
Yes,
Right.
it is.
So then who was the only one left?
Independence.
Sovereignty and independence.
Independence.
Sovereignty and
Yeah.
independence.
Yeah, there you go. It's a two-word system. It's a two-word term. Can't be one or the other. It ain't
Right.
sovereignty and it ain't independence. It's sovereignty and independence.
Independence, which is
Period.
a right. You have a right, yeah, to do that. You have a right to be able.
An absolute right, a God-given right. Which brings us back to Resolution 1514. So they said, believing that the process of liberation is irresistible, irresistible, right? Why is it irresistible? Because the colonized people has been raising their voice and their concerns regarding colonialism. So it shows that it's irresistible. The people want this, right? This is a testament of the test as a testament to the um, sentiment of the people around planet Earth, and irreversible in that in order to avoid serious crisis, right? We got to avoid serious crisis. An end must be put to colonialism and all practices of segregation and discrimination associated therewith. So, like the prime was saying, who was the only one who didn't vote to accept this resolution? Not the only one, but one of the few. The United States,
Mhm.
because they know they got native Moors in Morocco who, huh, without a doubt, uh, are seeking liberation. That's what the marching and the praying was all about. But who put together this resolution?
Was it the United States?
The General Assembly
That's correct. The General Assembly. What is the General Assembly?
is comprised of different countries, right? Uh,
Well, the General Assembly is the main organ of the United Nations
yeah, yeah.
and is composed of all countries on planet Earth that are members of the United
Of
Nations.
United Nations, right.
So it's 193 member states,
Mm-hmm.
most of which are uh, indigenous countries,
Right.
dark, melanated people. Probably 70% of the assembly, which is why I don't understand colonialism still being in. I just don't understand.
Because like you said, it's our own we fighting against.
I mean, yeah, but what I'm saying is it's mostly. I'm not even speaking about us,
Right.
America, so-called Black America. I'm saying I'm looking at the world as a whole.
Mm,
Whereas the majority of people on planet Earth are melanated indigenous people, yet they're allowing the minority,
to
which is the
rule.
pale Europeans, to colonize everything. I don't
Right.
understand that. They won't come together. I guess unity is a problem across planet Earth. At any rate, so it
Yeah.
was put together by the General Assembly. So this is the word. These are the words of the General Assembly. You
Point
may
of,
continue to the welcoming part. Someone had a point of interest.
I do, point of interest. You're talking about, you're speaking about 1514. That was a resolution, correct?
The one that's on the screen right now. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So when it's a resolution, that means they are thinking about it. It's not legal. It's something like a promise because it's not into play. It's still deciding. That's what I'm understanding. And I could be wrong. And then when it turned into a legal document, that was like 1654 or something like that. Is that true or not?
No. No.
Okay, let me
It's
understand. Help me understand.
well. I mean, it was a. It's just called. It's the terminology that they have used for this particular document is a resolution, but it's still an agreement. It's still a convention because it's 193 member states who have agreed to this. So everyone has agreed to it, even though you may have some that may not have voted for it. They were all outvoted. That's the democracy part. So all the other member states have outvoted those who voted against the resolution. As such, it became law, international law. It was passed as international law by way of the fact that it was accepted by the majority upon the voting session, right?
Point
So
of interest.
therefore, it stands as law, and in fact, it's the preemptive law of decolonization. So from the 1960s up until now, anyone who has decolonized have utilized Resolution 1514, which means, against your point, it stands as law regardless. So it's been used, which also the other consideration regarding that is what you call res judicata or um, established law, meaning that it's established in history the precedents of decolonization took place through the United Nations Resolution 1514, General Assembly Resolution 1514. So my point, what I'm saying is that it stands as law in practice, as customs and usage, whereas it has been utilized over many years. That document was utilized over many years for others to achieve the same level of decolonization or uh, sovereignty and independence. So no, ma'am, it absolutely stands as law, international.
Point of interest. Is it kind of like a treaty?
A treaty?
Yeah, I'm asking, is it sort of like a treaty, the resolution?
I mean, you could say that a multilateral treaty amongst all member states of the United
Mm.
Nations.
Right, right.
Point of interest, right quick. Just to kind of build on what's being said here, yeah, being several points to my mind. Um, you know, uh, keeping in mind that this document, being to the source point, it stemmed from the General Assembly, which means that that's not the Security Council. So that's two different things, right? So when it comes to voting in the General Assembly opposed to the Security Council, you know, vetoing right? Even if they were to veto it and had that done, even though it couldn't have, because again, it's coming from the General Assembly and it's democratic principles. So those two democratic principles that come from the General Assembly is two reasons that the Security Council couldn't veto it, right? And even if they did, they would get outnumbered anyway, like how they did. Um, in which the abstaining would have been your best bet if you really were to go against it. But uh, to your point, just to give clarity on the venues, right? Because the colonizers were in this at this point trapped. You know, uh, you know, being that the United Nations is made up of, some colonial states, right? Many colonial states. We gotta understand the 5D chess. So they can't stop it, but they can slow it down. Which we're not going to get into all the ways they tried to slow it down. But within this document, they see that um, there's certain worlds or venues, if you will, that if they remain vague, that's where things will stop. Um, uh, if certain principles are not highlighted, such as Article 2, subsection 1 of the Charter, in which it, it heavily relates to this, because it's all about whether another state can interfere or the United Nations can interfere with what's going on. Now, in the I know I'm trying this back around here in a second, but in the WRC convention, for those who many of us on the or some of us on this call might not have seen or read the WRC convention, but it counteracts what the disgruntlements that has been going on in the international community about Article 2, subsection 1 in the Charter. What does our Article 2, subsection 1 say? Well, it reaches out to the world in a way that it ails or fixes what has disgruntled the international community about that section. Okay, so we're reading a document saying that, okay, all people have the right to self-determination, but the next questions came to be, well, who can assist? Right? Or in the charter, it says, well, can't interfere with these domestic, with this state and this domestic uh, mechanisms. Right? So this became to be realized as an issue. They said, well, okay, if you're the United Nations, which wasn't explicitly made to decolonize, but to a large degree it was, yet when it comes to a specific state, right, the Security Council can't veto it. What's the where did they try to slow people down as it relates to this Article 2, subsection 1? Well, exactly with that Article 2, subsection 1 of the Charter, because it didn't necessarily align with the desires, the aim of this. So did they have to veto? It puts a stop somewhere, as if a veto was put in place in some situations, right? Or that's how they try to treat it, right? This is what causes kinks. This is what causes neo-colonialism, because you got to come back to a situation that wasn't clarified, and you got to come back to, because when there's a problem, there's a opinion. You got to come back to the conversation because there's some problem going on, right? And by this time, another form of colonialism has manifested, right? So I just wanted to just highlight some of these points here, as it relates to this document. As it relates to what the Sultan said, the 1960s. That's why I say keep the timeline in mind, right? Because it all comes into play. So this document is out of 1960s, but who was going to come in and interfere? Well, we'll save it for a later day, 10, 20 years later, 30 years later, right? So I just wanted to pretty much just share those several points of interest. I yield with that.
Point of interest. The reason why I asked that was because of, I'm interpreting what you say, that sometimes they use declarations, this is my interpretation, as a way to talk about it and stall it, and then clarify some things, but then later they turn it into something that's legal because they don't actually commit to it because there's some kinks in it that they don't want to commit to. So they'll put it on hold, as you said. And then later on, they'll say, okay, let's make this legal based on what we decided at this point in time. That's how I interpret it. And that was my misunderstanding because it always appeared that it's a declaration and then later on it becomes law because everyone agrees. So it could have been the voting. So
Well, a
I,
resolution in international law is a formal written expression of the opinion, will, or decision of an international organization, primarily issued by bodies like the United Nations. Resolutions serve to state policy, condemn actions, create tribunals, or impose binding legal obligations on member states. So Resolution 1514 is a legal binding obligation against these member states. The stalling that you're referring to is not it's not based on Resolution 1514. In fact, others in the past, like I said before, have used Resolution 1514 to accomplish the goal, which is to decolonize. But what the mechanism that's also part of the transition to self-determination would be the trusteeship system. So what they did was, in order to stall out the decolonization, to your point, wasn't through Resolution 1514. It was through this banding of the trusteeship system to then establish the C24, which is the what's C24 stand? What's the C24 again, Prime or anyone? What's the other term?
Um, uh, it slipped my mind, but it's the entire long title.
No, I'm talking about
Um,
that particular organ.
yeah, it's a nickname for it. I forgot what the C stands for though.
Committee on
committee
Decolonization.
on,
Committee. There we go. There
and
we
it,
go.
it,
The
it
Committee
has,
on
mhm,
Decolonization. So that has stalled out decolonization itself because everything was happening through the trusteeship system using Resolution 1514. So the Decolonization Committee, people have been on the list of non-self-governing territories, have been on the list uh, to decolonize, stuck as merely non-self-governing territories since like the 60s, right? We've already went over that. I can recall some of the countries. Um, Guam, I believe, is one of them. Many of the countries in the Western Hemisphere are stuck in the status of non-self-governing territory. They're recognized as that, but no forward progress is being exercised to complete the decolonization process for those specific countries. You see, so the C24 Decolonization Committee has served as more like a stopgap for decolonization more than anything else. And that would be to your point. So it wouldn't be Resolution 1514. It's really uh, the Decolonization Committee to C24. Islam. Okay, Vice, could you continue reading where it says welcoming the
Welcome.
emergence?
Yes. Welcoming the emergence in recent years of a large number of dependent territories into freedom and independence, and recognizing the increasingly powerful trend towards freedom in such territories which have not yet attained independence.
Yeah, and what about us?
Mm-hmm.
What about the black man in America?
Mm-hmm.
You see, there's a bad habit that the world has, which is to just totally disregard and ignore the Negroes in America.
Just look over it like we not.
Adolf didn't ignore it though. The one who's supposedly the most wickedest man on planet Earth because of what he did to the Jews. He didn't ignore it. He said the real Jews are the black people in America. Keeping in mind that he was swarthy. What does swarthy means?
Dark skin.
Yeah, yeah. So welcoming the emergence in recent years, you see what I'm saying, sister? In recent years, a lot of dependent territories emerged into freedom and independence, utilizing Resolution 1514 and other documents drafted by the United Nations uh, Assembly, starting with the Charter, right? So the Charter, um, I'm not sure if you're on your computer or your phone, Prime. I don't know if you could share the Charter, but uh, chapter 73. One second. I wish I had the sharing capabilities. Let's talk about something real quick. Now that we're here, one second. Uh, let's talk about something very interesting.
You want me to pull it up right quick?
Yeah, and go to um Article 73. Well, you have it broken down into different chapters. Chapter 1 is purpose and principles. Chapter 2 is membership. Chapter 3 is the organs. Chapter 4 is the General Assembly. Chapter 5 is the Security Council. Chapter 6 is the Pacific Settlement of Disputes. What does the Pacific Settlement of Disputes talk about? And I know what you mentioned earlier, sister. I don't know what you're looking at, Prime. That's not it. Um, I know what you mentioned yesterday, sister, about a certain level of organization and structure. Me and the Prime spoke on that to identify exactly what it is that you were trying to convey. Um, I guess what I guess the unfortunate part is that uh sometimes you have to jump off one document to show something pertinent in another document. You see, um, and this here is pertinent. So, Chapter 6, Pacific Settlement of Disputes, Article 33. The parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, shall first of all seek a solution by negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements, or other peaceful means of their own choice. So, parties to any dispute, the continuance of which is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security, right? They must seek negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement. All that before achieving judicial settlement. The Security Council, subsection 2 of Article 33, the Security Council shall, when it deems necessary, call upon the parties to settle their dispute by such means. So this is an operation or a mechanism dealing with the member states. So as you've seen me highlight the different chapters, nothing up to this point, chapter 6, Pacific Settlement of Disputes, has nothing to do with decolonization. So if, according to chapter 6, Pacific Settlement of Disputes, uh, You must go through the due process of negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration before judicial settlement. If you come to the point of judicial settlement, what courts would settle the dispute?
Consular court.
Yeah.
This is the United Nations Charter, not a Morris Treaty. So I'll ask again. What court would settle the dispute?
If consular court doesn't settle it, then it will go to the
ICJ.
It would never go to consular court because this is the charter, and this is dealing with disputes with other member states. And I'm making a point. I'm glad you guys are answering it as you are, whether it's right or wrong. So since this is dealing with a dispute amongst the member states, the current member states of the United Nations, of the General Assembly, that doesn't include consular court because this is not a Moorish treaty. It's not dealing with Moorish relations with other nations. So consular court, take that out of your mind, dealing with the United Nations Charter and specifically the Pacific Settlement of Disputes. That has absolutely nothing to do with the. So if China gets into a dispute with Brazil, it wouldn't be consular court to settle that dispute, would it?
Nah, not at all. Okay. I was thinking United States going against you.
Anyone else want to give it a shot? He says the United States Supreme Courts would deal with the dispute, would adjudicate the dispute, the judicial settlement.
No, I'm saying the empire. If the United States had a dispute with the empire or vice versa, it would go to consular court before it would hit the United Nations.
But what I'm talking about is not that. I'm talking about the Pacific Settlement of Disputes dealing with the United Nations Charter.
Right.
Yeah.
My concept was off.
They go to the International Court of Justice.
That's correct.
Right.
That's who they go to. Right. So again, I highlighted all the chapters up until chapter 6. We didn't hear nothing about decolonization or anything, right? So what am I saying? In order for us to take the United States to the ICJ, we would have to be member states of the United Nations. And we're not. Furthermore, our treaties are specific. It deals with consular court. So what the hell was Unpack 2.0 talking about? Continuing on. Chapter 7. Action with respect to threats to the peace, breaches of the peace, and acts of aggression. That's chapter 7. Chapter 8. Regional arrangements. This is all still dealing with the member states. Chapter 9. International economic and social cooperation. Chapter 10. The Economic and Social Council. So you went through 10 chapters. Have I mentioned anything about decolonization?
No.
Okay. Chapter 11, Declaration regarding non-self-governing territories. Now we get into decolonization. You see how far removed from chapter 6, chapter 11 is? Chapter 6 is dealing with the Pacific Settlement of Disputes, the ICJ concept that Unpack 2.0 has been pushing and pitching since the beginning of time. It's June. Have they petitioned? Because they said we will be petitioning in June. It's June. That petition will be rejected. We finally now, from chapter 6, get to chapter 11, which is dealing with declaration regarding non-self-governing territories. And what does it say? And I wish I was sharing my screen. So it says, Article 73, members of the United Nations, which have or assume responsibility, right? Listen, Members of the United Nations. Is the United States a member of the United Nations?
Yes, sir.
They are.
Mm-hmm. Who else is a member of the United Nations?
I can share my screen
France,
if you want me to.
Spain,
Who?
Germany,
Mm-hmm.
Britain.
Ants.
Mm-hmm.
Signatory
All
power.
of them. All the signatory powers are members of the United Nations. Members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibility for the administration of territories, right? Whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government. Somebody want to give me their interpretation of what I've read thus far? I'm listening.
Point of interest. I feel as though they speak it in code. They letting us know that the 12 signatory powers are colonists in Moroccan lands, and their people who are Moroccans, they haven't established who they are yet. Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyone else?
Well, I look at it like this, like you saying unpack 2.0. Uh we're not members of the United Nations. So we couldn't go there anyway. Because we're not members.
And I got
Right.
another point of interest. It also mentions uh, self-government recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount. That's primary. That's first in line, first in time. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm being specific with what I just read. I'm gonna read it again. Tell me what you hear.
Islam,
Members
I
of the United Nations.
point of point of
Go
interest. I
ahead.
would say colonial countries. It may be echoing what was said, but it's colonial countries.
Someone got to mute themselves, I suppose, because I'm hearing double talking or two people talking at the same time. Could you repeat that? What you said, Travier?
I was saying colonial countries. It sounds like they specifying colonial countries with administrations in place.
Yeah. That they have an administration in place. So let me read it again. Members of the United Nations, because it ain't so. It's being specific. It's talking to someone specifically because it's not everyone who has responsibilities of administration. It's speaking to those who are in that status. So it says members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibility for the administration of territories whose people have not yet attained a full measure of self-government. So if you look at, let's say, Nigeria, that's a member of the United Nations, but they don't assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government because they have achieved decolonization. You follow?
Islam, I follow. Wow.
Okay. So then who are we talking about? We're talking about that specific that article is specific to those who assume responsibility for the administration of territories whose people have not yet attained full measure of self-government.
Yeah.
You see, it's being very specific. It ain't even playing any games.
Islam.
So who give an example of a territory that's under administration by a foreigner whose people have not yet attained a full measure of self-government? Give me an example of one of those countries or peoples.
Black Americans,
Okay, thank you.
Moroccans,
I don't know
yes.
why it took y'all so long to answer that. And who is the administrator of that over those people who have not yet attained self-governance.
The United States.
United.
That's correct.
Mhm.
You see how simple that is? So it's talking to the United States. Who else is it talking to?
The 12 signatory powers, the 11 after United. Well, they're not a signatory power exactly, right? But yeah, the 12 signatory powers.
Pretty much the colonial powers. The 12 signatory powers are the colonial powers. Those are synonymous terms. Saying signatory powers is like saying colonial powers. Period.
Point of interest.
Go ahead.
Um, I just like to tie that in with briefly, since we got the charter here. I just like to show, and we'll come back right back to this one. But what I was speaking on earlier, Article 2 of this charter here, and it's wow, it's actually Article 2, subsection 7. I just noticed that it's Article 2, subsection 7, not 1. My apologies for that. So I just kind of revisit that real brief, real quick. To the Solon's point here, as it relates to what we just read in Article 73, speaking on, uh, you know, as it relates to the signatory powers of the United States, we're talking about all those countries, right?
Mhm.
Now, as it relates to Article 2, Section 7, and, there's also points about that the Vice has said that made me think about Article 2, subsection 1 that I think about it. But as it relates to Article 2, subsection 7, which reads, well, let's start from the top here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But, so this Article 2, it says the organization and its members in pursuit of the purposes stated in Article 1 shall act in accordance with the following principles. Okay. It says subsection 1 is the organization is based on the principle of the sovereign equality of all its members. Okay, so that's a point, right? The sovereign equality of all its members, meaning that, and I heard the Vice say something about you having to be a member to, I forgot what it was exactly that you said, but it was to do something. Um, I'll say this without being a member, let's just say if we wanted to go to the ICJ, we could go to the ICJ if we're not a member. However, the mechanism to get to the ICJ is not the same because we're not a member of the United Nations. So what would this look like? A more
Mhm.
strenuous process,
Mhm. Yep.
right? It will look like something like the C-24 process, which
Yeah.
means being accepted, which means meeting their requirements, open, vague instructions, right? Going through these different realizations. So that's one thing to realize, right? On all its members. Okay, what about the people who are working their way up to that stands possibly, or people who are simply just not members, working to a different stance? Okay, that doesn't address that there. Okay, but let me get back to the point of the other point I was wanting to make here, which is subsection 7. Okay. Um, It says nothing contained in the present charter shall authorize the United Nations to intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state, or shall require the members to submit such matters to settlement under the present charter. But this principle shall not prejudice the application of enforcement measures under charter under chapter 8, or that's 7.
Mhm. Mm.
Okay, so now we're talking about states um, having their right to not being intervened by any other state, let alone organization. So when it comes to enforcement, that has been another issue, whether we're talking about the blue hats, i.e., the UN Army, or any other enforcement mechanism, people having warrants and still going about their life as if that was never the case, right? All these things are, as I've stated in several classes before, open-ended traps in which, when we have a handful of colonizing countries creating a narrative for the world, well, it'll reflect that in some manner, right? These attributes that are being created will affect those of the colonizers in some manner, whether it's just simply slowing things down or simply things not being present, right? However it is. So these are this is what led to conversations in the international arena to say, hey, well, we see that a lot of things sound good, but when we come down to the core aspect of things, certain things, such as getting things done. Can the United Nations send the blue hats in, right? Can they send a repertoire? Can they send a whatever the case may be, right? But it all depends on that administrating country now, right? It's not about the veto. You see these different mechanisms that's put in place to say that, okay, when it comes down to the actionable part, when we got to get down to the crossing point, how can the colonizer stop that? That's basically what I'm trying to say here. So our WRC convention says says otherwise, in which I won't pull it up now. I'll pull it up later on in the conversation when I send it to my email, and I can pull it up quick and we don't have to go through all of that. But once I do all of that, I'll show everybody more of what I mean, and I do apologize for not having that set up. Um, I didn't really plan on speaking about that in particular, but later on here in the conversation, I'll show everyone more exactly what I mean. But for now, I'll give that.
All right. So let me get back to this point here. Let me finish this point here. This is important. Let's try not to throw me off. So it says members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose people have not yet attained a full measure of self-government recognize the principle that the interest of the inhabitants, right? So they all recognize that the principle that the interest of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount, and accept a sacred trust, the obligation to promote to the utmost, within the system of international peace and security established by the present charter, the well-being of the inhabitants of these territories. You don't have to be a Moor, or let me say this, you don't have to see yourself as a Moor, as a black man. You don't have to see yourself as a Moor to understand what that paragraph is saying. Within the system of international peace and security established by the present charter, the well-being of the inhabitants of these territories. So it's all about the well-being of the inhabitants of these territories. The people believe the world, I ain't gonna say the world, the average citizen on planet Earth, the average people, they really believe, I guess it's propaganda, centuries of propaganda. They really believe that the United States is the United States. What do I mean by that? It's the reason why the United States has a melting pot of different nationalities. It's a melting pot of different nationalities. And they have to use naturalization. as a means to assimilate foreigners into their jurisdiction as Americans. Why do you think that is? Meaning that if you're from China, you're Chinese. If you're from Brazil, you're Brazilian. Right? But if you say you're from America, you're an American. Okay? Problem is that America is not an indigenous name or an indigenous country. Is everyone following what it is that I'm saying? So what is the indigenous country?
Morocco.
Okay. So then what's the indigenous nationality?
Moroccans.
Okay, does that require naturalization?
No.
Exactly. So America is a foreign country operating in Morocco. So they don't have an indigenous character. They have a foreign character. As such, they have to enact naturalization laws in order to assimilate people into their jurisdiction. So when people think that America or the United States is a country that belongs in the West, that's a misconception. That's a bold-faced lie. The country in the West is Morocco. And what you have is this artificial grass that has been laid over the organic grass. So the organic grass is Morocco, the artificial grass is the United States. Everyone only sees the artificial grass. No one sees the organic grass because the organic grass has been buried in a shallow grave, i.e., it exists under a layer. That layer that it exists under is the United States, the American jurisdiction. So, therefore, if you're a regular person, you don't see that a regular person, from a foreigner on the outside looking in, you don't see the black man, right, as the natural inhabitant. You're thinking that he's from Africa. Who else think that they're from Africa? The same black man. However, the United States told the French government that they have protections over the native Moors in Morocco. Did the United States not tell that to the French government?
Yes, sir. 1952 on the ICJ.
No. 1913. In the communication between the French government and the United States after the French protectorate. Remember, after the French
1912,
protectorate,
yeah.
1913.
Yeah, I get you
After the
French
French
protectorate.
protectorate in 1913, the French government started communicating with the United States.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We went over that, and that's where they were saying, well, we have the rights to protect the native Moors in Morocco, and we're in America is in Morocco. They said all that in that correspondence. Okay, so the well-being of the inhabitants, being us, is paramount. But although it is paramount and it's in writing that it is paramount, it's still disregarded. We're still disregarded, even though our interest is paramount, we're still being disregarded. But then it goes on to Section 8, to ensure the due respect for the culture of the people concerned, their political, economic, social, and educational advancement, their just treatment, and their protection against abuses. Because obviously this is what was going on heavily in the 60s, right? To develop self-government, to take due account of the political aspirations of the people, to take due account of the political aspiration. So it's all whose court is the ball in?
You win.
Whose ball is the court in? Or whose court is the ball in? The United States or the Moors?
Yeah, from that perspective, it would definitely be in our courts.
Exactly, because it says to develop self-government, to take due account of the political aspirations of the peoples. So in other words, until they start to exercise their political aspirations, hey, it is what it is. But the moment that they start to exercise their political aspirations, you need to start to pay attention and you need to act accordingly. Y'all follow?
Um,
Um,
Point of
And then,
interest, Sultan.
hold on. And to assist them in the progressive development of their free political institutions, according to the particular circumstances of each territory and its peoples and their varying stages of advancement. So the moment that we start to show signs of self-government and our political aspirations, it is incumbent upon the United States now to turn around and assist us as we go through the various stages of our advancements in developing our free political institutions. The language is absolutely clear. Go ahead, brother.
Point of interest right quick. Why is there Belike you marking the screen up? So I'm not sure what it is that you're doing.
Yeah,
Mark the
Islam.
screen.
I'm trying to erase it, but
But you got the floor, Wazir. Wazir Belike.
You had a point of interest, Blinken?
I think he accidentally got kicked out the chat
Yeah.
or something.
Okay, so
Continue on with your point. Yeah. Yeah.
that was subsection B. I'm gonna continue. And then now C, to further international peace and security. D, to promote constructive measures of development, to encourage research and to cooperate with one another. And when and where appropriate, with specialized international bodies, such as the C24, right, or the trusteeship system, with a view to the practical achievement of the social, economic, and scientific purposes set forth in this article. And Part E, to transmit regularly to the Secretary General for information purposes, subject to such limitations as security and constitutional considerations may require. Statistical and other information of a technical nature relating to economic, social, and educational conditions in the territories for which they are respectively responsible, other than those territories to which Chapter 12 and 13 apply. So, Part E is telling the United States that they are to transmit regularly to the Secretary General for information purposes, subject to such limitations as security and constitutional considerations may require. Statistical and other information of a technical nature relating to economic, social, and educational conditions in the territories for which they are respectively responsible. So the United States is supposed to be letting the United Nations know, and the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. We've got some Moors who are showing signs of their aspirations to achieve their political independence. What should our next move be? You see, that's the conversation. Instead, we're being totally ignored by both parties, the United States and the United Nations, and the C24, and everyone else on planet Earth. Why? I thought that according to this chapter or this article 73, I thought that the inspiration and the interest of the inhabitants was paramount, is paramount. So why is everyone ignoring this? Anyone want to take a wild guess? I don't know the answer to it. All I can do is guess, but anyone want to help me guess? Why is everyone, the United States, the United Nations, etc., ignoring the whole thing? Anyone want to take a wild guess?
I try to take a wild guess. Well, when before the coup jumped off, okay, um, all the positions were, you would say, laughable. The positions wasn't correct. So it didn't look like we were serious on that end. And then the coup jumped off. And then it's like,
Pause right
then,
there. No. Don't say that part. You got to correct that. It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Our political inadequacies doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, continue.
Okay, so when the coup did jump off, now they're looking at us like, are they gonna get it together? So they're kicking back, trying to see if we're gonna get everything corrected right. You know, from the first part, all like I said, all the consul generals and the other positions were internal with internal positions, which were not internal positions. So, to them that was kind of laughable. So, you know, and then us started fighting. Now that becomes okay. Well, let's see if they're gonna get this corrected. So now they just kicking back, watching to see what's next. That's what I think. I hear.
Well, it's irrelevant. The political inadequacies is absolutely irrelevant and has absolutely and should have absolutely nothing to do with it, according to resolution 1514, which we will be getting to that. But I'll yield to
Right.
anyone else who wanted to answer that or give their perspective on why do you think we are being ignored. Anyone else?
On interest. I honestly feel like every internal state by way of the empire, it's like Hawaii. Hawaii, in that video the Prime shared to us all, Hawaii was aiming to decolonize by influencing the internal states of Hawaii to recognize their strong and rich sovereignty history. And that brother, I can't remember his name or his title, but at the end of the document, he basically was exhiberating that, you know, if we teach the people and empower the people will empower the state. That's what I gathered from it. And then, Resolution 1514, Article 73, that's what I gathered from that first section, where what the international community is telling, the colonizing states that unless the indigenous people are happy, you're not going to, things won't go right. Things will not go right. I would like to honestly say that the colonizer has figured out how to use our power against us. And I recognize that with all arms raised, Black Lives Matter. So I yield with that. Islam.
This ain't Hawaiian. We ain't Hawaiians. So while he may have the privilege and the luxury of empowering his people with knowledge, and then the people turn around and empower the country, that's not something that we um, have at our disposal, good brother Wazir, because we have empowered the people with knowledge itself. Countless so-called unpack study sessions, countless unpack media classes, and then now the Empire media classes open discussions. And what do the people do? That question is for you, Wazir Balinke.
Okay. Yeah, the people don't show up, but to add on
Okay,
to that,
so that's the only answer I needed. But go ahead. What else you was gonna say?
yeah, I mean, respectfully, it's going to have to take shape and form by way of these classes right here. I learned, I've been reminiscing of a lot right here this evening. I've heard it before, but I've been trying to capture a order. And this evening, I would say I've captured an order in which I can propagate this information to people that can help advance by way of the state to the empire. And then the empire going to reflect back to us what our work looked like because it furthers the empire. So I definitely need this recording because the way I computed it all, I said, wow, this is a way that I could reach these people. I don't know people suffering from traffic violations and things like that. I don't deal with people like that. Being woke don't mean being broke. So I deal with a certain
Well,
group of people.
well,
Yeah.
we need professionals just for clarity. I'm tired of the regular black man. It's not going anywhere with us. Those are the ones who got all the complaints in the world, all the emotions, and all the quit in them. There's a lot of quit in those people. There's a lot of nonsense and headaches that come along with those people. I've been experiencing it since 2022. But back to my question and my point. Russia, Putin has a warrant. Netanyahu has a warrant handed down to them from the ICC, International Criminal Court. In case you guys didn't know, the ICC, distinguished from the ICJ, the ICC adjudicate cases against the head of state in his personal capacity. You follow? If you violate the judgment of the ICJ. So as such, you end up with a warrant. But no one has the authority to pierce these jurisdictions to go snatch up Netanyahu or Putin. No one but one group of people have the authority to pierce someone else's jurisdiction in order to enforce the judgment of the ICC. Who is that group of people?
The Moroccan
That's
Empire.
the reason why they ignore us.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's the reason why they ignore us. We have too much authority. We got too much daggone power. It's like, man, I don't know about this. That's going to be another hegemon. What is a hegemon? The United States is a hegemon, a world power. That's a hegemon.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will they'll be a world hegemon again. And so the concern is, will they be in their lower self doing lower self things, such as enslaving us again and putting women in harems again and all the atrocities that they exercise against humanity once upon a time when they were in power. That's not to say all of us, but of course, there was a segment of us that were participating in these atrocious activities, such as the Rift Pirates. At any rate, that's the reason why I believe. That's just my opinion. I don't know that to be true, but it makes sense as to why they would ignore us and disregard our uh, political aspirations, because our political aspirations comes with a lot of power. In other words, we're seeking to reclaim what we once had, which was the authority and the power that we all see highlighted in the act of Algeciras. Sorry for spending so much time on this particular article. We can go back to the resolution so we can finish it up. Go ahead, Prime.
Yeah, before we get into this reading again right quick, uh, we're coming down to the end of it here. But I just want to add on to the fact that the diplomatic body of Tangier, at Tangier, um, being that of it was overseen by the empire. This diplomatic body is what what we're alluding to, or what the Sultan just alluded to on a world stage. It was exactly what the United Nations is today. However, it's not the United Nations. Just like the Empire of Morocco government itself, right? The government being separate from the state, the government being the physical machinery was left vacant. Same thing for the diplomatic corps. That Tangier left vacant. So where it was it's the same status. It's the same status. We had to pick everything back up. So what does that look like in today's time? Well, we have the Empire Morocco government reestablished, right? Um, uh, and to the Sultan's point, um, as it relates to bringing um, uh, the foreigner to court, as it relates to even our convention, the WRC convention, Articles 2, subsection 7, which says the opposite of what theirs says. Article 2, section 7 says, um, uh, all these things allude to the direct things that they vaguely and intentionally did not include within their structure, right? So they purposely did not include enforcement powers in the ICJ. They purposely did not define these certain mechanisms or words to leave people, confused. Right. So I just want to point that as far as the diplomatic body of 10 years specifically relating to the Sultan's last point. That's what we're growing to be. The empire this new age has is it's new everything. So it's not the diplomatic body of 10 years. However, we do have a setup based on our judicial system, based on our continuous stages of advancement that is going to have to call forth the foreigners to the courts, unlike the ICJ, who doesn't have an enforcement power, right? So I just want to put that on the table. But Vice, if you want to continue on with this reading,
Yeah.
continue on with this section. Yeah.
Convinced that all peoples have and now
That word is inalienable, good brother. Inalienable.
inalienable, right?
Inalienable.
Oh, inalienable. That's right. Okay. Convinced that all people have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty, and the integrity of their national territory, solemnly proclaims the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestations.
So in that very last paragraph, solemnly, that that's uh rounding up all the other chapters, or should I say paragraphs,
Right.
in this preamble previous to that particular paragraph. Right. So there was a lot that was stated. Mindful of the determination proclaimed by the peoples of the world in the chapter of the United Nations, Charter of the United Nations, so on and so forth. Next paragraph, conscious of the need for the creation of conditions of state stability and well-being and peaceful and friendly relations based on respect for the principles of equal rights and self-determination of all peoples, recognizing the passionate yearning for freedom in all dependent peoples and the decisive role of such peoples in the attainment of their independence. That's definitely where the Moors are, right? Aware of the increase in conflicts resulting from the denial of or impediments in the way of the freedom of such people. So there's denials and impediments. There's a lot of denials and impediments. It's a maze. Everywhere you go, there's a denial and an impediment. There's a denial and an impediment, right? Considering the important role of the United Nations in assisting the movement for independence and trust and non-self-governing territories. Oh yeah, what happened with the empire? Recognizing that the peoples of the world ardently desire the end of colonialism in all its manifestations, convinced that the continued existence of colonialism prevents the development of international economic cooperation, affirming that peoples may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources, believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible, welcoming the emergence in recent years of a large number of dependent territories into freedom and independence, convinced that all peoples have an inalienable right and complete freedom to exercise of their sovereignty and in the integrity of their national territory. So you put all that together to say solemnly proclaim. So they all said the General Assembly solemnly proclaims the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. Okay? Again, when was this resolution drafted? What's the timeline?
1960.
Okay. So what is, someone pull out their calculator. What is 2026 minus 1960? How many years is that? 60 to
About 56 years, 58 years, 56 years.
66.
60. I asked for someone to pull out a calculator. Appreciate you.
66.
66.
56.
Wow.
So 66 years later, you said all this jazz and colonialism still exists. Why? I mean, when you're talking all strong like this, you would think that within 10 years, by 1970, colonialism should have been done with. But no, it still exists. It's live and well in 2026 from 1960. Yet they're saying that solemnly proclaims the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. What are we talking about? For real, for real. Who wrote this document? Who wrote the charter? Because your own words are being violated 66 years later. And this is the reason why we got to get it from the mud. No one is going to help. It's all on us, aside from some divine intervention. The Illuminati secret is live and well. Who is the Illuminati?
The Moors.
Why do you say that?
We the high table. That's the Masonic secret.
Okay. Illuminated ones.
Mm-hmm.
The owls who can see in the dark. It's in the back of your dollar bill. There's an owl looking into the window. I think it's on the back of the $5 bill. You can see an owl back there. But that's not the symbolism that I'm pointing to. There's something on the back of the dollar bill that's illuminated. What's illuminated on the back of the dollar bill? I know somebody got a dollar bill on you.
The
I know you all
all-seeing eye.
broke, but somebody
The
got a dollar
all-seeing
bill.
eye.
Yeah, but it's not an all. It
The
is and it's
Moorish
not.
eye. Pardon me.
Well, I mean, yeah, that okay, but it's something else as well. Very important. What that all seeing eye, that what you call in the all seeing eye, what is that connected to? And what shape is it in?
It's a
The triangle, the
capstone on the
pyramid.
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 Somebody said the word. Somebody said the word. Say it again.
Capstone. Capstone.
That's what it is. It's a capstone. And it's it's separate from the rest of the pyramid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not together. That's
That,
supposed to be.
that represents as
Why?
above, so below.
No, it represents
No, no,
us.
no.
It represents us divided.
There you go. That's what it represents. There you go. We've been fragmented. So then what I had, and so the ones at the top are the illuminated ones, i.e. the who?
The Moors.
No, because the Moors are in the body of the pyramid as well. A specific group of Moors is the all seeing eye or the capstone or the illuminated part of the pyramid.
The Illuminati.
They
The
say what's the
that would
They,
be
name?
that would be the competent authority, the Moxen,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
officials,
Moroccan government.
the
It is your
government.
Moroccan government.
So now
MOM.
then when it's reinstated, what happens to the pyramid and the capstone?
They come together.
They come together.
Optimus Prime.
So
Come
all the
back
Moors got to
home.
come together. But it starts with the illuminated ones, those who have knowledge of self, those who got the eyes to see and the ears to hear. The fourth generation with the eyes wide open, seeing and knowing. That's the illuminated part of that pyramid, that capstone. Y'all follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shalom.
That
That's the
connect to, I'm sorry, go ahead, so.
no, go ahead. That connects to go ahead.
That connects to, in my mind, 144,000
That's
being,
exactly what it connects to.
yeah, and coming back and uplifting fallen humanity.
Well, what is the symbology in that? How many people on planet Earth? 7 billion or so?
Yeah,
What is 144,000 people to 7 billion people?
5%.
Shit, probably even less than that.
Probably 1%.
Probably even less than that.
Yeah.
Somebody do the math. What is
Zero,
What is
zero,
it?
zero
7
point
billion
five.
divided by 144,000?
Yeah,
That's like
5% is way less.
0.0005%.
I knew it. I felt that. Wait.
something ridiculous. But the point, what is the real point though? The point
Uh,
is that 144,000 is a very minuscule number to 7 billion people.
Right.
So it's an allegory, it's a metaphor. It's not a specific. It's not based in specifics. So it's not
Right.
specifically 144,000 people.
Yeah.
It represents a small number of people, not specifically 144,000. You follow?
Yeah,
Because
that's like
how many people
astrology.
do you need to run the Moxen? How many people is necessary to run the government? You need 144,000 people to run the government for real? No.
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 right? Right? You need the head of state, the prime minister, the vice prime, the speaker, the chief judge, the attorney general, the minister of foreign affairs, your foreign minister, right? That's a,
150.
that's a very minute number of people.
150. 3 for each state.
What do you mean?
150 people. Three from each state, all 50 states.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's a small number of people to the grand scheme of things. So that's the reason why they don't want to deal with us. They're scared of us. Yet they got our symbology on the back of the dollar bill. At any rate, 66 years later, and colonialism is still alive and well, and no one cares. No one cares. They think that colonialism has been completed because all the African countries have decolonized. Yet you've got like 19 countries that are stuck in a non-self-governing territory status and category. Uh, the foreign minister of Russia, Lavrov, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he mentioned once before that the West got some work to do because colonialism has not been fully realized or completed. Yeah, no, it hasn't. Thank you for saying that. You're absolutely right. Lucy, you got some splaining to do. The West got some explaining to do. Why is it that 66 years later, after the drafting of Resolution 1514, why is decolonization still alive and why is colonialism still alive and well? Well, one reason is somebody hasn't achieved it yet. Who is that somebody?
Moroccans, the
They
Moors.
haven't achieved it yet. That's the final stage of decolonization. At any rate, let's continue with these quick 7 articles. And to this end, declares that so solemnly proclaims the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. And to this end, declares that. Go ahead, brother.
Number one, the subjection of peoples to alien subjugations, dominations, and exploitation constitutes a denial of fundamental human rights. It's contrary to the Charter of the United Nations and is an impediment to the promotion of world peace and cooperation. Give me 1 second.
So they do they not care about world peace and cooperation because they said that the exploitation, the domination and exploitation constitutes a denial of fundamental human rights. And that is contrary to the Charter of the United Nations and is an impediment to the promotion of world peace and cooperation. I didn't write this. None of y'all didn't write this. They wrote it. So where do they stand with this today? Huh?
Yeah.
Continue.
Number two, all peoples have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Number three, inadequacy of political, economic, social, and educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence.
Read that again.
Inadequacy of political, economic, social, and educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence.
Why is that?
Well, for one reason, we are people that are just not in government, but just coming up. We right now at this particular moment, we don't know what they know. So we're gonna need help from them.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. We disenfranchised, you know, and like the vice minister said, yeah, we need their help. But based on reading this 1514 and all the articles, what I see in it is that uh it's custom and usages. They are accustomed and they are used to us performing a certain way. Yeah.
And we are accustomed and used to them performing a certain way. And we acquiesce to it. Hence why the Moroccan nationality is obsolete and without effect.
Okay.
So who the hell helped Africa? When they supposed to be so-called loincloth wearing uncivilized savages?
Yeah.
So who the hell helped them? How they go
Themselves.
from how to no? You don't go from the woods to now you're in palaces and you're the prime minister of Nigeria. That's just like us. You don't go from the hood straight to oh you're the sultan.
Right.
There's gotta be an in-between assistance. Someone had to tell them about something. Someone had to put them on game about something because they too were disenfranchised. Perhaps not to the level of the black man in America, because I'll say it again, I could assure you that no one was telling those Africans that they're from America or Asia or some other continent.
Right.
Well, somebody helped them. I know the United States helped Libya. Does anyone know what the Libya flag look like? This is Star Spangled Banner,
Mm.
except it has one star instead of 50 stars.
Wow.
Hmm. In the late 1800s, I can't recall the specific year, but the United States helped black people in America to establish Libya in Africa.
For real?
Yeah,
Black people in
yeah,
America to establish Libya.
yeah.
That's my first
I'm gonna
time hearing that.
I'm gonna do a class on that.
Wow.
I'm gonna do a class on that next.
It's very similar to Liberia in
Right.
that effect. And when I decided to do a research on what may be the connection between Liberia and Morocco, they brought up the Kingdom of Morocco, of course, and Liberia was a supporter of the Kingdom of Morocco and the UN. That was very interesting to me. But needless to say, I hear your point. I hear.
Um, that's why the charters I just read, Article 73 talks about assisting the colonized people as they go through the various stages of advancement of establishing their free political institutions. So that means that Ghana, Nigeria, etc., they receive that assistance. But they also don't have treaty power, do they?
No, they don't.
So that's why you see that no one wants to assist the black man in America.
Hmm.
So if you're gonna get it out the mud, which you kind of don't have a choice, you can't depend on them obviously to assist. First of all, you got to demonstrate your desires to self govern. Once you do that, that's when they're supposed to step in. But in the meantime, until they do that, a disenfranchised people, you could expect that they would be politically inadequate. You cannot expect top level operations from a disenfranchised people.
Yeah.
So even with all the wonderful things that Jermaine thinks he has done, we're still politically inadequate. Like you mentioned earlier, you got ministers of foreign affairs of internal states. The foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one minister of foreign affairs. That's for the empire. There's only one foreign minister. There's only one secretary of state. There's only one Marco Rubio who speaks for the state in the absence of the head of state on behalf of the head of state and the state. It's only one. We had a bunch of ministers of foreign affairs for the internal states. Talk about political inadequacy that renders laughter. Like, what the hell are they doing? So the new empire said, "No, we ain't doing that. We'll just have one minister of foreign affairs as the normal practice of other nations." Islam.
Islam.
So that's to establish political adequacy. But even with that, we're still politically inadequate. Wherefore, you require assistance. But even under that circumstance, you cannot use that as a pretext to delay independence. Islam. All right, brother, you may go continue the fourth.
Okay. Number 4, all armed actions or repressive measures of all kinds directed against dependent peoples shall cease in order to enable them to exercise peacefully and freely their right to complete independence, and the integrity of their national territory shall be respected. Number 5, immediate steps shall be taken here, right? Immediate steps shall be taken in trust and non-self-governing territories or all other territories which have not yet attained independence, to transfer all powers to the people of those territories without any conditions or reservations, in accordance with their freely expressed will and desire, without any distinctions as to race, creed, or color, in order to enable them to enjoy complete independence and freedom. Number 6, any attempt aimed at the partial or total disruption of the national unity and the territories and the territory's integrity of a country is incompatible with the purpose of principles of the Charter of the United Nations. Number 7, all states shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the present declaration on the basis of equality, non-interference in the internal affairs of all states, and respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples and their territorial integrity.
947.
947
Plenary.
plenary meeting, 14th December 1960.
Basically 1961.
Right. Because it's December.
Right. So all states shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the present declaration, which is this resolution. Right. On the basis of equality, non-interference in the internal affairs of all states, and respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples and their territorial integrity. That's the reason this, amongst others, specifically a lot of provisions within our several Moorish treaties, is the reason why the U.S. has no jurisdiction, because they must respect our sovereign rights
Exactly.
and the principles of non-interference. They cannot interfere, and they don't interfere, not per se. They don't come in and say, "Oh, y'all can't do this." Keep in mind, don't get it twisted. Don't get it misconstrued. Don't be delulu. Don't be delusional. But they are, without a doubt, very well aware of what's going on. They are listening to this call right now.
Oh, yeah.
They listen to all my calls. Every call that I'm on, they listen to.
Yeah.
You know how he would say, they're watching me. No, they're watching me. The ego of this guy was diabolical. Nobody watching you. You're not the head of state. You're a judge. You're watching the head of state.
They want to know what you about, what you what you gonna do.
That's what they need to know.
Yeah.
Because I fall under Article 10. Oh, I forgot. In his jurisdiction, preside means something else.
Something he
He has
made
his
up.
own interpretation of preside, and everyone acquiesced to his interpretation. Well, that's exactly why it's a fraudulent jurisdiction. But in the real jurisdiction, preside means preside, to oversee, to govern, to have authority over, much like how a judge would preside over a case.
Right.
He's not there waiting for the prosecutor or the defendant to petition him for anything. If there's disorder in the court, he calls for order in the court. Yes or no?
You're right.
So according to the Constitution, Article 10, absolute sovereign authority of the Empire of Morocco, it's me who they're watching. If it was him as the Sultan, then yeah. But it's me who they're watching. They want to know if I can govern the Moors fairly and hold them accountable. They also want to know, and will I be fair to them and observe the treaties? Okay, well, I'm wondering the same thing, Trump, Macron, King Charles, whoever, whatever. Will you adhere to the principles of the treaties in good faith as well? I guess we're both thinking about the same thing about each other, aren't we?
Yeah.
So then that means that we need to have a conversation. That's why I know Impact 2.0 has tried to has tried to summon the signatory powers, because we already tried to do that when we were together. So I know now Tumbleweed has his name on a document that J. Bay wrote that they sent to the 12 signatory powers, with their chest poked out, talking about, I'm summoning you. And they're just gonna ignore it.
Yeah,
We need media exposure.
exactly.
We need awareness. We need the world to know what's going on. That's
Exactly.
part of us getting it in the mud, getting it out of the mud. Right? It's all on you. It's all on you, sir, ma'am, black man, black woman, Moors, to drive decolonization by way of the social reforms and the political reforms. But the social reforms is something that we need to really take a strong look at, because that's what's dealing with the awareness, right? The social awareness of the Empire of Morocco being reinstated, and the United Nations, the C-24, and the colonial powers are uh, not adhering to their own documents, that being Resolution 1514, Resolution 1541, the UNDRIP, right? Rights of indigenous people, all that, the charter, the whole nine. Everything that they are doing is repugnant to the charter, their own charter, when they disregard the paramount nature of the political interests of the Moors, who taught all of them government once upon a time. But we also cannot disregard that there's a hidden hand behind the scenes that looks just like us. That's the Germain types, the Negroes behind the scene, who's running everything through a puppet. In this case, the puppets are the Mamluks, the pale faces. In his case, the puppet is a drug dealer who has nothing to lose. So you might as well be the Sultan. I might as well be the Sultan. Maybe I won't have to worry about going to jail anymore. I got this ankle monitor taken off of me. I should be the Sultan. It'll give me protections. See, there's an agenda, personal agenda, an egregious personal agenda to these decisions that have been made. I don't have a concern with none of that. And I don't have to be no damn sultan. I don't care nothing about the title. I could be regular people. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. But I'm the sultan. And it wasn't my choice. Excuse me. It was y'all's choice, including those rogue Moors who went over there. So the battle is the United Nations, who's not corresponding, the C-24, who's not corresponding, the United States, the signatory powers, and your own people. You fight everybody. The opposition is real. It's multifaceted and varying degrees of it. It's a hell of a challenge. And when you working with people who aren't locked in, makes it even harder. And this is where divine intervention is going to be required. And it will happen. How do I know that? Because we have taken the steps to demonstrate to the world that we have a desire to self-govern. That's the first step. We have to demonstrate. It ain't like how the Negroes do, marching and praying. They want to write BLM on the streets. What's that Jew name? so-called Jew, billionaire guy who funds everything. Antifa, BLM, George Soros. That's who put together BLM, which is a corruption of the real BLM. What's the real BLM? What does the acronym BLM stands for the real BLM?
Black Liberation Movement.
Black Liberation Movement. Everybody just play us like
Yeah,
a fiddle. We just get played left and right, and they just be laughing in their mansions.
indeed.
They just be playing with us, and we over here, BLM, George Floyd, BLM.
The
And this
bad
dude,
part is we
that
fall
dude,
right into it.
the whole time George Floyd is Aquaman because he could go 9 days, not days, I'm tripping, 9 minutes without breathing. And
Yeah,
talking too. I can't breathe, but I can talk.
Aquaman.
There's Aquaman over there.
Oh
9 minutes
my
of
gosh.
not breathing. And what do? We go crazy. Problem, reaction, solution. The dialectic principle. They cause a problem, they wait for your reaction, and they provide the solution.
Yeah.
Never fails. We are so gone. And these rap artists and Hollywood artists and these entertainers, like Malcolm X was talking about before, they are the problem. They don't help. What if the Camel J, Jay-Z, Illuminati J, what if him, his wife, Beyonce, Oprah, right? Tyler Perry, P. Diddy Oil, which that was his idea in speaking to Charlemagne. I'm going to fund the revolution. I'm so happy to have the finances available to me to fund the revolution and start a black party. That's what Diddy said. So what if they all shared that same mindset and they came together with that approach? Irregardless on the nationality. I'd rather see you being united as black people than just no unity at all. Unite around something. Damn. Unite around your money, your power, your resources, and your black status. That still holds a lot of weight. That still holds a lot of weight. Because truth be told, those who are Moorish conscious, they can't unite their damn self. So what we doing? Can't win for losing, can we? So the Moors can't unite and the blacks can't unite. Wow. It's a tall order. You mean to tell me that the Moors can't unite? And they're the ones who have achieved knowledge of self? So it's the Moorish Americans versus the Empire of Morocco Moors, and then is the Empire of Morocco Moors split up because of some seditious clown who's full of ego and arrogance. I wrote the documents. Oh, well, thank you, but it belongs to the Empire, sir. Anyway, go sit your behind down somewhere. Sir, what are we doing? What are we doing? No matter what you do, we're still one. That's what uh, Mays said. No matter what you do, we're still one. So that means that whatever you do, good, bad, or indifferent, it affects us all because we're one. Yes or no? So coup d'etats affect us all. Attempting to overthrow the government affect us all. But it's an attack against the state. It's an attack against the head of state. It's an attack against the state, and it's an attack against the will of the people, which means you have no respect for the state, the head of state, or the will of the people. If you don't have respect for the state, the head of state, or the will of the people, then how is the white man supposed to look at us? So yes, he's watching you. They're watching you, sir, but not for the same reason, not for the reasons that your arrogance would like to think. But then again, also he might be fat. So they're all watching him. I'm watching you, Fed, because now the conversation has changed. And it has been changed for quite some time now. Now we're talking about Obama told you that you was a Moor. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Don't come to me with the clearing of your karmic debt. Oh, I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you. I said Muslims lit the torch, the Olympic torch. I told y'all that the Muslims were the ones who taught the world. Yeah, well, why you didn't say more? You didn't say more. You said Muslims.
Muslim men.
Whereas most of the black people, the black population in America are Christians. So it's definitely not gonna stick. He don't care about you. He cares about transgendered males having the right to use the girls' bathroom. That's what Obama cares about. He cares about transgendered men participating in female sports,
Right.
whereas a transgendered man boxes with a real female and just
Mm-hmm.
destroys her. That's what Obama cares about,
Yeah.
because that's what we see take place in American society. We didn't see the upliftment of the black man in no way, shape, form, or fashion. I don't care nothing about what you said in Cairo, Egypt. That was absolutely irrelevant. It went over everyone's head because you didn't have the nerves to say it with your chest. Well, then, if you are so concerned about Malia and whatever the other daughter name is, and Michael or Michelle, not having someone come after them, then keep your mouth shut. Shut up and pass your pro LGBTQ bills and laws. Because that ain't got nothing to do with the upliftment of the fallen Moors. He didn't do nothing for the upliftment of the fallen Moors.
Point of interest, Salter.
The floor is open.
Thank you, sir. I would say two things about Obama. I do know some career criminals who got out of jail when he initiated his bill to, you know, let certain people out of jail based on whatever atrocities they committed. And I know two people that got out of jail, and they was career drug dealers. Okay, so I also know Obama to um, legalize a certain amount of weed that you get caught with in Georgia. And the governor adopted it. So I was like, oh, Georgia. So, you know, it's just certain things he did do for things he like. And homosexuality is definitely one of them. But I'm not opposed to homosexuality. If that's your direction, that's your direction. I'm not judging you. But I do recognize that's what he did in the United States. Yeah.
What about the economic development of the of the black communities? How about that? You mean to tell me that he couldn't do nothing regarding the economic development of the people?
He's
Even
serving a certain agenda. So,
even
you
well, no, I'm saying even if it was an executive order, we know that it doesn't. Uh, it only stands as long as the next president allows it to. But you could have done something for the upliftment of. I mean, yeah, it's cool. We got Trump pardoned a bunch of people. So so right? I'm not talking about the criminal system. I'm talking about the economic development of the people. Where is that? even on a smaller scale. It's non-existent because, like you
You're
said,
right.
he serves a different agenda. He's a Manchurian candidate. But again,
Mm-hmm.
listen, the world is a stage.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
expect nothing from any of these people. They're all actors. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's someone else behind the scenes who's pulling the strings. And those who are behind the strings pulling the strings, they're pulling the strings against the Moors. So it's we're two people removed. We got the middleman, and then we got the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
The middleman is the federal government, and whoever the hell sits on the seat. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter. Bush, Obama, Trump. It doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right.
And then you have the final boss. That's who matters.
The final
Final
boss.
boss. That's the final boss in John Wick 3.
Yeah, that
That's the
Roman
final
church,
boss.
right?
Now, it wasn't no church. You said church?
Yeah, it was some.
No,
I didn't
no,
see
no.
three. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't no church. No, sir. It was a tent
A
in the
tent.
desert. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
he had to go to Morocco. And John Wick 3,
Mm.
he got a contract put on his head. He's part of John Wick is part of an association of assassins. And he
Yeah, he
killed
is.
someone in a hotel where that was absolutely against the rules and the
The
laws of this
rules. Yeah. Yeah.
of
I
this
remember that.
of the
Islam
organization. And then so then now
station.
so then now the association, the organization now
Mm-hmm.
has a contract on his head. And
Yeah.
throughout the whole movie, as you're watching it, you'll see that the the characters that were in charge of the organization, they were all pale white people,
Mm-hmm.
right? You had a couple of assassins that were melanated, such as Morpheus, Larry Fishburne,
Mm-hmm.
and Holly Berry, who had the two dogs. Larry Fishburne had the pigeons. He used to talk to the pigeons and use them for messages. He used to text mess. He
Mm-hmm.
used to text message with pigeons,
Yeah, I
like
grew
back
up
in the
with people
days.
like that.
So then what happens? So he goes to them for assistance, and they helped him. They helped him get to the real boss. So the idea
It's
was for him to go to Morocco, cross the cross the burning sand. These are Masonic allegories. So in the movie, he passes out as he's crossing the burning sand, and
mm,
a Moor pulled up in a camel, picked him up, took him to the tent where the final boss was, and he was sitting there with a turban on, smoking a hookah.
okay, I remember that.
And the condition for him to go back with the contract removed as a free man to America was for him to cut his
Mm-hmm.
ring finger off,
Mm-hmm.
and that's exactly what he did. And he went back a free man, and that contract was null and void. So all those white people had to go sit down somewhere and leave John Wick alone because the Moor said so.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie, you're watching it and you're thinking that it's white people running it. So when he goes to Casablanca, Morocco, you're thinking it's a white dude or something. No, it was a Moor
Mm.
smoking on a hookah. Okay, yeah.
Eh.
So well, you cut your finger off. You're a free man. I'll make a phone call. You're good to go. What? So if they show us this in the movies, that's probably what it is in real life. You
Yeah,
follow what I'm
right.
saying?
They tell their lies visually.
They inform you. That's what I'm saying.
Visually.
They'll project the truth to you, and then they'll tell you in order to
Mm-hmm.
cleanse their karmic debt that they have accumulated. They got to tell you that's part of the ritual. So it's a matter of saying, well, we tried to tell you. Whenever they get caught up, they will always be able to say, we tried to tell you. So Obama, when
Islam.
he get caught up, he's gonna be able to say, well, I tried to tell you. I said that you was Muslim. And Jermaine is over there eating off of that. Again, what the hell does that have to do with decolonization? Where is the ICJ? I thought we was going to petition the ICJ in June, sir. But like I just laid out, like I just demonstrated in chapter 6, which is far removed from chapter 11 when you actually get into decolonization. Pacific settlement of disputes has nothing to do with decolonization. Ain't no ICJ. It's the C-24. or any other means necessary to achieve the goal. But it ain't no ICJ, so you ain't going to the ICJ. We've been going to the ICJ since 2022, 2023, 2024. Still going to the ICJ. Now ain't no ICJ. That's why the conversation has changed. You ain't talking about that no more. Talking about some damn Obama. You rehashing that conversation all over again. You're running out of things to talk about. You're trying to attract black people. The same thing he would say that Taj Tariq Bey and Abdullah would do. When they run out of students, they start this Negro narrative in order to attract more black people. So that's what he's doing. Obama tried to tell you that you're black, trying to attract black people, trying to attract a new crew of people with rehashed misinformation that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. It's not leading us anywhere. What we have on the screen right now, Resolution 1514, it's redundant information. It's been covered many times, but it requires further deliberation. Just like Taj would say, I'm being redundant. I don't know if y'all remember that. We're being redundant. That's what he would always say, because he's speaking on things that he already spoke on before. You can't speak on this enough. The subject matter of decolonization, there's more than enough information, and none of which can be spoke of enough. If it requires redundancy, then dadgummit, that's what it requires, so that it can finally, eventually stick, so that the people can understand where they fall in this. Look at what this says. Black man, listen to what this says, black man, if you're listening. Believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible, and that in order to avoid serious crisis, an end must be put to colonialism and all practices of segregation. Black man, you know about segregation. Black man, you know about segregation very well. You know about segregation, maybe not this new generation. You know, the Generation X, my generation, we were just out of it, but we know the stories. And discrimination still exists till today. So you see yourself in this. That's the reason why it it it's um it's paramount, it's important to continue the conversation, to continue to speak on these documents and not get sidetracked by US political activities and gerrymandering. I care nothing about no gerrymandering. Obama, what? What are we doing? What is the path to decolonization? How do we achieve decolonization? I'm not here to play games about some gerrymandering and Jasmine Crockett and Letitia James and Obama. What are we doing? A bunch of Negro sellouts that we keep bigging up. He has an affinity for Negro sellouts because he him damn self is a Negro sellout. So accordingly, you promote Negro sellouts. Can we please focus on what the next steps are? What is it that we need to do as a people to achieve the goal and not get sidetracked and distracted by US politics and what Trump is doing and not doing, and what Letitia James beef she got with Trump, and what gerrymandering is taking place with Miss Crockett from the hood, yet she's a rich kid. Or what Obama said in 2009. That was in 2009. And nothing came of it, except for some proclamations that the Moorish Americans didn't even exercise. So they wrote a proclamation saying that you can have a parade, and they didn't have the parade. Are you guys familiar with what I'm talking about? Oklahoma, Atlanta, all these major cities had proclamations from the mayors saying that, or agreeing to some Moorish American week, and that they can have a parade. And whereas the Moorish Americans are the Moabites and the Hittites and the Canaanites, no, they're not. That's a bold-faced lie. You know, Moorish American ain't no descendants of that. Moors are descendants of it. The Moorish people are descendants of it, not Americans. So Moorish American, again, is a naturalized American, someone who is from Morocco, who was naturalized in American jurisdiction, i.e., Moorish American. Moorish Moroccan American is the new jurisdiction. Italian American. He was an Italian who became an American. Korean American. He was a Korean who was naturalized as an American. So, you know, Moorish American, the descendants of nothing. Moorish Americans are descendants of slaves. Those who are the descendants of the Moabites and the Hittites and the Canaanites and all the ites in the Bible are the Moors, the Moorish peoples, or to be specific, the Moroccans. Not no American on any level. Moorish American, whatever American, African American, Black American is all the exact same thing. All that means American. So they lied to you in the proclamation, and then, but yet they gave you the right, to march around, have your little parade, and still didn't do it. Don't tell me about what he said in Egypt in 2009. Hillary Clinton said, oh, well, you know, Morocco was the first country to recognize the sovereignty of the United States. So, thank you for saying that, but so? Because I already know what you're doing anyway. You're codifying it. You're letting everyone believe that the Kingdom of Morocco is who did it, because you didn't say the Empire of Morocco. You see how they are slick with their words? They confine their remarks to keep you bamboozled. Because people would say, well, what is the Empire of Morocco, if they were ever say that? But they never say that. They just say Morocco. Obama did it. Hillary Clinton did it. They all do it. Morocco. No. Say the Empire of Morocco. You won't say that, though, will you? So what are we doing? It's called stalling. It's a controlled operation, controlled opposition, controlled opposition operation. He was sent to control the U.S., the opposition to the U.S. Who and what represents the United States opposition? The Empire of Morocco. Sultan Al-Kabir. I am the opposition of United States foreign affairs, political affairs. So this man was sent to control it. Controlled opposition. So he's controlling the opposition by stalling us out, making empty and fraudulent promises of some ICJ. And now teaching classes about some damn Obama. Barry Soetoro. I can confidently say that because I saw it in a high school yearbook. Afro picked out, popular with all the white girls, basketball playing pictures all over the yearbook. And in every picture, his name is next to it. Barry Soetoro, Barry Soetoro, Barry Soetoro. But the population, the world knows him as Barack Hussein Obama. His high school classmates and teachers know him as Barry Soetoro. And you want to sit here and tell me about what Obama said in 2009? Man, if you don't go sit down somewhere Chief, figure out something else better to do with your time, Mr. Controlled Opposition, Fed. He's a Fed. I have absolutely no doubt that this dude is a Fed. And that's why he would always say, the United States is watching me. You better listen to what he be saying. He's a forked tongue, and he be projecting what he be doing. He tell you what he's doing in such a way that it would cause it to go over your head. So you're thinking of it from the regard like, oh, they're watching him because he's so great, and they want to see that he's going to be great. And that's how you're looking at it when you say that. No, they're watching him to make sure that he conduct the operation accordingly. Get rid of that Negro. Get rid of him. He's going to be a problem to you. He's not a pushover like your son Dre. He's not a pushover like your criminal new son Kendon. He's standing up to you. You got to get rid of him. He's going to be a problem for this operation. Get rid of him. That's how they're watching him. So he said, damn it, I got to do it. I like that guy, but I like my freedom better. So I got to do it. And here comes the coup d'etat. Moment of silence for that statement that I just made. It was a mouthful. And here comes the coup d'etat. Got to get rid of him. He's going to be a problem. He's too fiery. He's too smart. He's too strong. Do you think you can galvanize people against him? Yeah, I surely can. I've already been working on the narrative behind the scenes, calling him a monarch. Okay, great. That's great. Good job, son. Tapping him on the shoulder. It's like on Belly when DMX was came under the authority of that Fed dude who wanted him to kill the preacher. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? That movie? Does anyone remember Belly?
Islam. Yes, sir. You say Belly
Yes. But remember Belly, the movie Belly with
with
DMX
Nas
and
and
Nas?
DMX?
Yeah. Remember DMX
Islam.
went to jail and they gave him freedom in exchange for him killing the preacher? And
Right.
throughout the
Right.
movie, he kept having meetings with this Fed dude and he kept giving him the game plan. But at the end, he couldn't pull the trigger. He was face to face with the preacher, had the gun to his face. He couldn't pull the trigger. He couldn't be J Bay. He couldn't follow through like J Bay. He couldn't be a J Bay. At the end, his spirit, his moral fibers, character showed, and he was like, "Man, I can't pull this trigger." He was trembling with that gun to that preacher's head, and he let go of the gun, and just the preacher just they started hugging. J Bay pulled the trigger, but he missed, and it ricocheted right back to him. He pulled the trigger on behalf of the United States as an agent of a controlled opposition. That's what the hell is going on. Don't sleep. Sleep is the cousin of death. Islam. The floor is still open and we can close out in the next few minutes. But I thought that this would have been a good class to discuss, a good document to discuss in this class, based on what the brief discussion that we had in our Monday town hall meeting, in which certain questions came up. It inspired me to say, okay, well, let's do Resolution 1514 again. Not the first time we've done it, but it's worthy of uh, redundant teaching, right? You know, we'll teach other things in between, and then maybe 2 months later we'll hit it again, and we keep coming back to it because all of our lives as a people, we never were privy to this type of information. Never. We were privy. We were more so into our books, literature, right? Videos, documentaries, and things. But literature, J.A. Rogers, Ivan Van Sertima, Chancellor Williams, and all these authors who speak about the struggle or the history. I read many of those books. ISIS Papers. Dr. Fred Welsing, Dr. Welsing, who appeared on Donahue, if you all recall the talk show Donahue, and she went
Dr.
off on
Francis,
them. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Francis Chris Wilson.
Correct. See, we were conditioned to read those books. We weren't conditioned to read these resolutions, law, international law. Now, if we had read as a people, black people, without the understanding of any Moorish anything, just regular black people, you read Resolution 1514, it would hit you in a certain way. Specifically, the part where it talks about segregation and discrimination. Because it's like, oh, whoa, hold up. That's exactly what we're dealing with. Remember, those who would have been interested in even reading this to even do something were those in the 60s and the 50s, the old school black people. They would have been the ones to read it. And they would have been like, hold up, that's exactly what we're dealing with. Is this what we need to be doing? You see? But nah, Martin Luther King said, Civil Rights Act.
Right. That's how you know he was bought out. There was millions invested into not teaching that. Probably.
I mean, yeah. Any points of interest, comments, concerns, questions? Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. So we'll close out in a few here. I wasn't able to give my opening remarks to remind everyone who the damn Sultan is, not no Kendon. That boy's an imposter based on a special elections. They required a special elections for this dude because he's following his marching orders. Jermaine is. He's following his marching orders to depose me as the Sultan. Mm, mm, mm. This is horrible. Our people, man. The Moors, a Moor is a dangerous. This is the reason why there's more than likely why they're reluctant in working with us. This right here. The Moors are dangerous. Can't be trusted. They can't be trusted. It's a dangerous group of people, man. Could you imagine a bunch of J-Bays in one room? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, feel sorry for them. For those Moors that's part of that group, that crew with a bunch of J-Bays. We're dangerous people, man. We're very dangerous people, and we're dangerous to ourselves. We're operating under a program of self-destruction. And they always put people amongst us. They always send certain people amongst us. I used to always come to him about this. I always felt a vibe. I always felt a vibe. I used to always be like, man, we need to shut these doors. Stop allowing so many Moors in. Because we just got the door wide open. I feel like we got something, we're inviting an agent amongst us. Oh, don't worry about that, man. Chairman, that's when I was the chairman. Don't worry about that, chairman, man. You know, I'm watching. I got my eyes open. Yeah, the whole time it was him. The whole time it was him. But I knew I had that vibe. It was always strong. I didn't suspect him though. Not until later. But as they would say, hindsight is 2020. When you look back and you look at certain patterns of behaviors, certain things that were stated, certain things that were done or not done, you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together, it starts to now become a lot clearer, especially when you're no longer subject to his what you would say his evil spell. You see, so now you have a clear mind, right? You got a clear mind in which now you're thinking back in retrospect, and you start to say, oh, 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 oh. You start to put two and two together, and a puzzle emerges. The full picture of the puzzle emerges, and now you see it exactly for what it is. And what I see is exactly that. We see it in the latest study sessions. You see it in the previous study sessions. I was seeing it then. That's why I stopped watching it since like 165. I'm like, what is he doing? Something ain't right here. Something is not right. Stall, deny, and defend. That's what the United States is doing through him, stalling us out. So this coup d'etat was in order. It backfired because it now allowed the empire to move along accordingly without any stopgaps. Now, of course, I have to navigate the ship as the captain of the ship, Captain Picard. Right? I got a crew, so you allow the crew to do what the crew got to do. You just oversee and make sure that the destination is the destination, and that no activity is going to lead us away from the destination. So if the destination is Pluto, then I got to make sure that the ship is headed directly to Pluto, regardless on any challenges that may take place along the way. And the crew has to be in full alignment. Under what principle? Under what principle would the crew of the Enterprise in Star Trek? Under what principle would the crew of Enterprise, in conjunction with the captain, what status will they be under in order to achieve their mission? Unity. What else?
Loyalty,
Mm-hmm.
conformity, and
So
obedience.
that's what they're in. How can Captain Picard be successful as a captain if his crew is not unified with him, loyal to him, conformity with him, obedience to him, and him as well in like manner return that same understanding? Because he too got to be in unity, loyalty, conformity, and obedience. That's not limited to the crew. That's the crew includes him. He is the crew. He is part of the crew. So he too has to be in that mindset. Everyone got to be in that mindset. It builds harmony and chemistry, synchronicity, alignment. And I've been trying my damnness to fight for that alignment. Because without that, we're toast. And look at what happened. Good. I'm glad it did. So now we're in a better place. Yes, we have our own internal struggles because the Moors are the Moors. Been seeing this since 2022. So this is nothing new. There ain't no influence from Unpack 2.0. I can tell you that, and perhaps it is. I don't know. And I don't care. And I don't care what they're doing. I don't ask questions. I don't give a damn. It's notwithstanding. These are shenanigans. This is Cartoon Network over there. Has no authority. And we got a job to do. Forward progress based on the political uh, reforms of the diplomatic relations that needs to take place. We sent off the letters. It was received. The BRICS has received their letters, except for Russia. I'm disappointed in that thus far. We're waiting on the green card from Russia to arrive to say that it was received, but Brazil, China, India, South Africa has received theirs. Let's see what happens after that. So we're going to keep pushing. There's more to come. So someone asked the question, what is the what have you achieved or something like that? Nothing. My question to you now is, what have you contributed? You see how the Moors do? You want to ask me what we achieved, but yet you ain't contribute a daggone thing. Man, go sit down somewhere and shut up. Nobody listening to you. I ignored his question. Where's your contributions? El Quan, that was El Quan from Ampad. He used to be from Ampad. I don't know where the hell, I don't know if he's still, I don't know. I don't care. You want to ask what has been accomplished? What have you contributed to your country and your future generations, sir? Or you just want to be a cheerleader with the skirt on the sidelines, but not put any work in? You see what I'm saying, Wazir? This is not Hawaii, and we are not Hawaiian. That's a different group of people. That's a more unified group of people. You empower them with the knowledge that they need to achieve the goal, and they will automatically, naturally just come together and get it done with full contributions from everyone. That's not the same thing with the Negro. The Negro want to question you. They want to wait till you get it done, and then they'll join. And then if they do join, they want to be disruptive, obstructionists. They want to overthrow you. They want to be egotistical and arrogant. The foolishness of Al Quan to ask me such a dumbass question, excuse my language. Whereas your contributions is the question, sir. On behalf of your children, your grandchildren, your family, the country as a whole, the people as a whole, is the upliftment of fallen humanity, starting with the fallen Moors. The fallen Moors must rise up together in unity with full contributions from everyone. Not just me and the prime, from everyone. And only then can we uplift fallen humanity collectively as a unit, not questioning me as an individual. What have you accomplished? What has been your contributions is the question, sir. And the answer to that is none. Well, then you don't have a voice. So shut up and go sit down somewhere. You see, they don't like my brash stance on things. I can care less. Who do you dislike more, me or Trump? You got to make a choice on that one, sir. Because I ain't going nowhere until 2031. I'm never going to violate the Constitution, so you're not going to have a reason. No, you're not going to have legal basis to remove me. Like Jay Bay tried. Try that again and see what happens. It's never going to happen. I'm never going to allow it. But if you can show and prove where I may have violated the Constitution, I will humbly submit to the will of the people to answer those questions, without a doubt. You ain't gonna make up stuff. Bold-faced, unjust lies and think I'm just gonna be like, oh man. No, we gonna scrap. Let's put the dukes up. We're gonna have it out. We gonna have it out in this bar. Oh yeah, we're gonna have it out in this bar. I'm gonna grab tables, I'm gonna grab bottles, whatever. let's get
Islam.
let's get it in. Let's get it in. I don't duck no smoke. Don't try me with that. Show and prove that I have violated the Constitution, and I will humbly stand before the people and answer up to it. But you're not going to make up any lies about me and think that I'm just going to accept it. It's not happening. I don't care who you are or how you feel about it. Nova, Jay, Dre, Isaac, whoever, whatever. Got me twisted. Who the hell y'all thought y'all was dealing with? I don't know, but that was an insult to my intelligence, and that pisses me off more than anything else. I am not tumbleweed. I am not Kendon. I spent 20 years plus educating myself on achieving the goal, not 20 years poisoning my community with drugs. I'm a different person from a different cloth. There is no comparison. On my worst day, that boy can stand next to me. Man, if y'all don't go sit down somewhere with the foolishness y'all got going on over there at Unpack 2.0, it's laughable. Frivolity. It's nonsensical. The Sultan's failed coup attempt. That's the title to 174. I will never let that go. It is hilarious. It's Homie the Clown time. Islam, this is crazy. And this is what I'm saying. So how is the white man supposed to respect us if y'all don't respect your own head of state? If you not in solidarity with your own head of state in your own country, all they're gonna sit there and say is the Moors ain't ready, which then reaffirms what Tashariq Bey had already said before: the Moors aren't ready to govern. No, they're not. They're in their ego. Ego is lower self. If it becomes predominant in your characteristics, ego is just simply for your protections. But if it
Checkmate.
becomes a thing, if it becomes a thing in your character, that's a detriment. That's diabolical. That's a detriment to the forward progress of a people who seeks decolonization in their political aspirations of sovereignty and independence. It is an absolute obstruction. It's a damn shame. But this is what the Black liberation movement has been all about. It's always been about some jealous Moor who mad at the leader and wants to do whatever to him. Have him assassinated or whatever the case might be, removed, whatever. Same old story, same old song. Since day one, since Noble Jew Ali. It was the Moors who murdered Noble Jew Ali. It was the Moors who murdered Martin Luther King. It was the Moors who murdered Malcolm X. It was the Moors who murdered. I'm not sure what happened. I can't forget what happened with Khalid. I think it was a so-called.
Khalid.
Yeah. Well, I think it
Khalid
was.
Muhammad.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I said. Khalid, however you want to pronounce it. But what I'm saying is what happened. I think it was a so-called not a like he was sick. It was
It
something
was
dealing with
poison,
illness.
food poison.
Food poison. Yeah, okay. The Moors poisoned him. Whoever died from food poisoning? You know how many times I've had food poisoning? All you do is go to the bathroom like left and right. Can't eat nothing. It goes in one hole and out the other. No, he was poisoned
Yeah,
by
poison.
by black people. We're the ones. We are the ones who do it to each other.
I think
And the
his
white
wife was
man
in on it too.
and the white man just sits back and laugh and yeah, they'll never get nowhere. So that's exactly what they did on October 1st, 2025. They're not gonna go anywhere. Keep in mind they already know because they have already planned it all out through J Bay. He's a Fed. Without a doubt, he's a Fed. Now he might say, oh, that's slander. Yeah, well, you slandered me on 175 with all those women, all those knucklehead women who don't know nothing. With both, it was a bunch of lies. They all sat up there with a straight face, starting with Makara, lying their asses off. Bold-faced lies that was based on a script that was written for them from J-Bay. So they're sitting there reading a script, including the fake judge, the peddler, the drug-dealing peddler who left the courts pending a drug test, and now because she knew she failed it, she just left because the wazir told her she should leave, which was at the time Kendon. Now she got a warrant. Ain't no telling what has taken place from that since. But this is the quality of individuals that were standing, so-called presiding over some fraudulent case,
Checkmate.
reading some nonsensical script that was written by some dumbass judge who claims to be I'm the director and the producer behind the scenes. Yeah, collusion. That's collusion. You're colluding with two different branches. A judge has no business working like that with the legislative branch. Why you ain't let Makara write her own stuff? Because she is not capable or competent enough to do it. None of them are. None of them. Not Mary, not Queen, not definitely not Brittany. None of them. And certainly not Dominique. Certainly not that ghetto hood rat. Certainly not that. So what's left? Jay Bay writing the whole thing, and they sitting up there pretending to be the actual authors. Whole face, like this is BS. This is the nonsense that I'm talking about as to why we as a people will not achieve decolonization if we continue in this regard.
What a interest. And what's so silly is that, just say they were running the government, right? Now, what's going to happen when one of them person has to go and speak to other countries or anything of that nature? They're not gonna have J Bay on their side whispering in their ear, okay, say this, okay, say that, okay, say this, okay, say that. They're gonna make themselves look like cuckoos, talking to other nations and stuff. Not you.
And Clinton certainly can't do it. He is not capable. He is not capable. He is not capable of sitting amongst dignitaries in a professional manner, in a professional setting, with an eloquent disposition and conversation. Good luck with that. He would embarrass the empire. He would embarrass himself. He would embarrass his children. He can't talk. That's the reason why they used to call him Tumbleweed. He can't talk. He is like, it's an embarrassment to listen to this dude. I watch their podcast sometimes and I just be like cringing. Like, that's what you call the Sultan. No one else wanted to be horrible. No one else wanted to take the position for many reasons, one of which they know it was fraudulent. They know that what was going on was fraudulent. Don't think that they don't. They're just in the status of Amir Hassan El, who's gonna write the documents. That's what it is.
Dre.
The dependency. Oh, son, that the black white dude, man, come on.
Yeah.
That boy from Wyoming, he don't know that. He is bought off. He's easily bought off with a $1,500 custom suit, the same suit he wears everywhere all the time. I hope he put it in the cleaners every time he uses it. See, that bought his loyalty and allegiance. So now he's Son Jr. Now he's attached to J Bay, and that's what I keep telling people. Don't get me twisted. I don't give a damn what you did or didn't do. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about none of it. Respect is the bottom line. So you purchase me a quote unquote $1,500 suit and then turn around and think you're gonna disrespect me and sun me. I will cuss you out in the suit and throw it in your face. You ain't gonna no. I don't, man. I don't know. People are built different. Dre is definitely built different. Son Jr. over there. They're all attached to this dude from a dependent perspective. They don't feel that they can do it without him. And that was by design. That is by design.
He their daddy, and his daddy is the dude named Lawrence, right?
His daddy named Lauren, a white dude from some mergers and acquisition thing, which is why he can't do it no more because he was found out to be a fraud. But that's his daddy, Lawrence, his shark daddy. But he got another daddy, the FBI. The FBI. The CIA and the FBI keep coming to Dre. Dre kept telling, oh man, the FBI came to me. I'm like, bro, why is the FBI always coming to you or the CIA?
Because when I met them, when I met Dre, he told me that. It was like, yeah, you gotta be. They came to my house, and so Jermaine is the new William O'Neill.
Right. Right. That's exactly who he is, William O'Neill. William O'Neill Bay. William O'Neill Bay, J Bay, William O'Neill. That's who he is.
Real.
That's who he is. The guy who worked against
Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton. Got him killed. You see, it's always the Moors. I keep telling y'all, it's always you, black man. It's always you. who choose to work with them against yourself. The Moors are dangerous. The Moors are dangerous people. And fork-tonguing, uh, snake oil sales Moors, or even Obama is one of those. You got a beautiful smile and an eloquent disposition. But that's a crooked smile, though. That's a crooked smile. That's a crooked disposition. That's all an act. You got to behave a certain way to achieve your influence over the population. He's a dirtbag, is what he is. Obama, Barry Soetoro, all of them, all the presidents, all of them. None of them serve our best interests. If anyone ever did, there would have been a bill passed, right, to observe and adhere to our um, sovereignty and independence, and to right the wrongs, whereas the proper education should be instituted on behalf of these Moors. Who's going to ever do that?
JFK was a little close to that, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. He was the closest one, and that's why they got rid of him.
Yeah.
His son, John, was cool with Trump, in case y'all didn't know that. They used to hang out in Harlem back in the 60s and the 70s. And all the discotheques, I guess what they called it back then, the clubs. The discotheques with the disco ball, the shiny ball, disco ball, whatever.
And I seen a documentary where it's he got a son like that's real poor and they trying to kill him. I seen a YouTube channel. Yeah, I seen this YouTube channel. I gotta find it. And I'll put it in the chat.
I don't know nothing about a poor Kennedy. I tell you that. I've never heard that one.
Yeah. I gotta find it. I'm gonna put it in the Telegram chat for y'all.
At any rate, we still our people, man. Our people are the reason for the injuries that remain constant in our development. The injuries come from our people, from the J-Bays of the world. People like him, people that like to throw a rock and hide his hands. You know, his crew over there, they don't understand or know about a lot of the little crooked and wicked little weird things he's doing behind the scenes. He's a weird dude, man. I mean, to be 55 with that disposition is diabolical. That's like embarrassing. Like, grow up. It's like a child, like a grown child, like a gnat, just annoying as hell, constantly with some weird thing going on behind the scenes. Getting the U.S. courts involved. Why he didn't get the U.S. courts involved on that white lady that stole his $30,000 on that final deal before he got kicked out of mergers and acquisitions, where he's lying, telling the Moors that I quit because I want to study for you. Why you ain't take her to court, Jay? Why you ain't take her to their tribunal to demand your $30,000? Huh? Why you ain't do that, sir? Mm-hmm. Why you ain't do that to that white lady? Why you don't just go back to your mergers and acquisitions? I'll give you a hint, sir. You don't require a broker license to do this. Do it as an entrepreneur. Do it as an investor. Huh? You could do that, can't you? See, he would always say, I can't go back to the United States. I can't ever go back. It's decolonization or die. Now I see why he's saying that. So what'd he do? He starts some defender, security agency, whatever, right? Stealing the attorney general's business idea, for whom he once worked for as an employee. Kanye was his boss. So he goes start some defender, whatever, and then steals one of his clients. Go back to mergers and acquisitions. I thought you was a shark with all these shark skills and your corporate skills and you're this guy. You're the guy. Okay, well, go start your mergers and acquisitions again instead of through an agency or as a broker who is now controlled by some association and their rules. Freelance this thing, huh? Do it as an entrepreneur, as an investor. Huh. I call your bluff, sir. You a damn fool. Embarrassment. My only regret of June 8, 2024 was allowing this clown to administer my oath. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. Thinking back on this, looking at it, looking back on this, I'm like, oh God. But Allah don't make any mistakes. I can't forsake the journey, and I gotta accept it for what it is. And this just is what it is. Because there's good and there's bad in the journey. Dealing with this seditious clown, this childish, seditious 55-year-old little boy. There's good and bad with it. So I just got to accept it and not forsake it, and know that Allah doesn't make any mistakes. It's a divine and national movement, divine first, before it's national. And so therefore, we have achieved the divine aspect in which we have met the Almighty halfway. So now it's up to the Almighty to meet us halfway, which means we just stay on the path, remain steadfast in this process, and when the time is right, the results will start to show. Because as we already know, and I've already said it before, Allah doesn't make any mistakes. And the wrath of Allah is due upon Jermaine and Unpack 2.0. The time is coming. Every day that passes, we get closer to decolonization and closer to their demise. So let the time tick. It's the clock of destiny just ticking away. The United States shall fall and we shall rise, and Unpack 2.0 shall be dealt with in accordance to divine law. I'm not going to have to raise a finger. They will be dealt with accordingly. Islam Wars, peace and love. Will reconvene again next week. It is yours truly, Abdul Al-Kabir, the Sultan of the Empire of Morocco, as distinguished from Tumbleweed, the fake fraudulent sultan of some fraudulent group of Moors called Unpack 2.0, under the leadership of William O'Neill, aka Jermaine Diaz Spencer. Peace and love, bro. We'll see y'all next week. Long live the Empire and His Majesty the Sultan. Peace and love.
Long live the
Long
Empire,
live the
His
Long
Empire,
live
His
Majesty
the
the
Majesty
Sultan,
the
Empire,
and
Sultan.
Majesty
Islam.
Sultan,
Peace and love, man.
Islam. Peace
That's
and
right.
love.
That's right. Islam.
Long.